Hi everyone, welcome to the Basic Editor Training Review. Today we're going to go over web standards, profiles, and wrap up with best practices. So kicking off with image size standards. If we recall from other training videos and the training session itself, we have specific size standards that we need to abide by and also naming conventions. All of the images should also fall within that underscore image folder within a root folder of Cascade. If you have no idea what this means, I recommend you watch the other videos from Basic Editor Training Review. But these are just a couple of examples. Like a slider image should be 1900 by 390 pixels. It should start with SLD dash. We also have the different size standards for one column, one COL. So the Web Style Standards and Best Practices Guide is what defines or gives you that definition of what a one column full width text image means, where it goes, and what size it should be, as well as the naming conventions. So I'm actually going to jump over to the Web Style Standards and Best Practices Guide really quick. I'm going to zoom in so that you see what you'll land on when you click on the Web Style Standards and Best Practices Guide. So you have the color palette and all this other information, mainly for third parties, if they're helping develop some sort of third-party site related to CSU Pueblo. And then image sizes is where we have the different types, the different naming conventions, and then what these mean. If you need additional support as far as image size standards, we also have the kitchen sink, which is linked right here. So these are the live examples of what an image will look like on the live website. So now going back to the presentation, we have the web style. So we have specific colors that were chosen because of ADA compliance, specific headers. Mostly you'll be working with header 2s and header 3s or other types of headers. There is a video of how to create or edit a header. Sometimes we see people trying to create them and add their own blue and red. In the editor, there is a color selection and then different sizes that you can change. You should never have to worry about the colors or creating a type of header yourself. So it's something that, again, I recommend you watch this video because it walks through how to create a header. Oftentimes people just copy and paste one on an existing page. But again, never have to think about colors or headers. Now, the next part of this training is profiles. So this is just a quick run through of what you'll find within a profile. So unlike the other types of folders, you don't have that underscore widget folder because there's no widgets that appear on profile pages, sorry. So what you will have is an underscore doc folder and then an underscore image and then the index page. That's all that should ever be inside of a profile folder. So the underscore doc is for CVs or resumes, and then the underscore image is for the image, the profile picture that you'll see. And that also has its own size that it should be and its own naming conventions. And just a little reminder, there is a video available of how to edit a profile as well. So now we're going to wrap up with best practices. The first best practice is that anytime you're working with bullets or numbers or headers, again, like we just talked about, make sure that you're using the ones within Cascade. So we see a lot of people copy and paste bullets and numbers from Word documents, but the spacing is actually really off sometimes within Cascade. So just make sure that if you do have a bulleted list, take off those bullets and then add the bullets within Cascade within the editor. And if you are posting document from a Word document, we also recommend just pasting it into a notepad first, just to remove all the little hidden code that could come from Word documents, and then adding it to the Cascade editor. Second best practice is to keep names of pages brief and descriptive. So there's a display name, and that's what appears in the navigation. Then the page title is what appears on that page when you actually click on it. So just make sure that you aren't repeating CSU Pueblo because we're already part of the CSU Pueblo website. and also that you're mindful of what root folder you're working on so that you're not repeating irrelevant information. The next best practice is to keep buttons and links action-oriented. So naturally with buttons and links, all you can do is click on them. So we recommend to just sticking to what you want people to accomplish, whether it's register, whether it's watch. But anytime we see click here, that's one of the administrator edits to just take off. But we really encourage everyone to just keep that top of mind. The next best practice is to think about your spacing between paragraphs and columns specifically. We see a lot of columns that people try and list all of the text in it, but columns are really just ways for people to read more information, to get to the pages that, that include more details. But columns should be 10 lines or less. Paragraphs as well, probably keep it to 2-3 lines and then add a space. Just that white space is really helpful. It helps readers not skim as much, but actually take in the content. So nobody really reads large chunks of text on websites anymore, really, not as much. The next best practice is to not embed any text or logos within images. Number one reason for that is ADA compliance. It's not something that you can really capture with alt text. It really brings SEO down if we're not compliant. Second reason with that is that we think of the website as a house. So each house has different rooms, and then people can decorate their rooms differently, but the rooms still feel like they're part of the same house. So we want to definitely have that same feel when it comes to the CSU Pueblo website of every unit has their own individual thing that they're doing, but the experiences that are shown and the images all reflect the same CSU Pueblo experience. So with that, when it comes to images, we really encourage people to portray or showcase real campus experiences. So there are some stock photos that appear like they could be on campus, and we do allow those, but for the most part, it's the real campus student experiences that we want, just because a lot of people can't visit campus. So we really want to showcase what they'll experience when they're here. Then the last one is to always add images as a main content section. We see people sometimes try and embed an image into the editor because it is an option to do that within the editor. It gives you that choice, but don't do that, mainly because it screws up with the sizing on a mobile device as well. It might look great on a desktop. It won't work. And also, I guess the image size standards go away with that, and those were carefully picked so that they would be compatible with all types of mobile sizes. So make sure that if you are adding an image, do not embed it into the editor, but add it as a main content section. So that's it. Thank you, everyone.